So I think Christopher Nolan is a bit unique in modern cinema. He seems to be the only person who can combine intelligent movie making with mass appeal in original ideas. So perhaps Denis Villeneuve is a pretty good filmmaker, but he doesn't have as many original ideas as Christopher Nolan seems to have. So I love stuff like Memento, Inception, The Dark Knight as well. I'm a really big fan of Christopher Nolan in general, but I'm feeling completely apathetic about the Odyssey, to be honest. And I know this has been discussed a lot online already, but I've kind of been waiting to see if my personal enthusiasm will kick in. And to be honest, it's not. So I think the areas where I'm concerned are the casting, the dialogue, and finally the visuals. So let's have a look at the casting first. So the big controversy has probably been Lupita Nyong'o cast as Helen of Troy. I like Lupita Nyong'o as an actor. I saw her in the Quiet Place movie. I thought she carried the movie well. So it's not that I dislike her as an actor. I just think she's the wrong choice for Helen of Troy. So Lupita Nyong'o praised African cultural authenticity, then dismissed the same standard for Greek mythology. So yeah, I'm going to read out her comments. They're a bit hypocritical. It's not really her fault. She's been cast in the movie and then she's expected to come out and justify that when there's reasons that she can't really justify it, as we will see. The Odyssey casting controversy entered a new phase this weekend when critics surfaced her past statements about cultural representation in Black Panther and placed them next to her defense of playing Helen of Troy. The resurfaced comments came from her Black Panther promotional work, where she praised the film for pushing back against the misrepresentation of Africa. She noted that Wakanda speaks Xhosa, that the cast had to learn the language and get the accent right. She described Black Panther as helping challenge long-standing misconceptions about Africa by insisting on cultural specificity rather than treating the continent as one vague monolith. This week, defending her casting as Helen of Troy, she told interviewers, "This is a mythological story. Our cast is representative of the world." So the Odyssey isn't about the world. The Odyssey is a Greek story. The contrast is precise. She argued that Black Panther was obligated to treat African cultural identity with fidelity, to learn the specific language, etc., etc. She then accepted a role as one of the most culturally specific figures in Western literature and defended it by saying mythology transcends origin. Well, surely if mythology transcends origin, then Black Panther, which isn't a real story, like mythology isn't really a real story, therefore Ryan Gosling can play Black Panther, right? That shouldn't be a problem. So the article goes on. It's pretty clear that Hollywood standards are double ones once again. When it comes to black culture, it must be revered. When it comes to white culture, it must be replaced. And then they go on to talk about the character of Helen of Troy. Helen of Troy is not a mythological blank. She's a character from a specific civilization's founding literature, described in Homer's own text with specific physical characteristics embedded in a set of cultural assumptions. So yeah, I don't really blame the actress herself. I think she's a decent actress, but I just think it's a very strange casting decision, particularly from Christopher Nolan, who is very much about creating a world that feels real. I mean, I'm open to the idea that Christopher Nolan is doing something unusual with the Odyssey that's going to make sense when I watch it. But I don't really have any confidence that that's the case, because this is this is emblematic of kind of all the other things I'm going to talk about, but it does feel like if you were going to make a bad faith representation of a Hollywood liberal 2020s left wing adaptation of the Odyssey, this is kind of hitting all the different stereotypes. Another problem that there is that there are literally no Greek actors. So Greek actors have been completely removed, have been erased from their own story. Can you imagine doing Black Panther and completely erasing black actors from their own story? I mean, if we have a quick look at a Google search, we can see that there are absolutely plenty of Greek actors that they could have chosen. So I think it's very peculiar. Another decision I wanted to talk about in terms of the casting. Christopher Nolan defends the Odyssey armor. We'll come to the armor later when I talk about the visuals. And casting Travis Scott after online backlash. What is the best speculation? Nolan also defended the casting of rapper Travis Scott as a bard, whose appearance in an early trailer caught some by surprise. I cast him because I wanted to nod towards the idea that this story has been handed down as oral poetry, which is analogous to rap. Okay, but I imagine lots of cultures have got oral poetry. Again, Greeks have been erased in favour of a foreign culture, which I guess why what's going on there. It's really peculiar. I think anyone who's been following Nolan's career knows the British filmmaker is painstaking when it comes to accuracy. On Interstellar, he hired a team of scientists to get the physics to be as accurate as possible. He took a similar approach to the Odyssey. I don't think he wants to be accurate as such. I think he wants to build a world that feels as real as possible, that feels internally consistent. I mean, that's what he did with Inception, for example, or with the Batman trilogy. So it's not a real world, but in terms of its own internal logic, it works really well. And then he goes on to talk about speculation. For Interstellar, you're looking at what is the best speculation of the future. When you're looking at the ancient past, it's actually the same thing. What's the best speculation? And how can I use that to create a world? So he does seem to be thinking about creating the world and its internal consistency. So again, the movie hasn't come out yet, so maybe he's doing something that's unexpected and unusual, but it's just a series of really strange decisions at the moment. If you do a really quick Google search, you can see that there's lots of traditions of Greek music that Nolan could have exploited. But as with the actors, he decided to erase the Greeks from their own movie and do the generic 2020s, let's just race swap it. And I don't really mind race swaps if they're done for a good reason. So in House of the Dragon, there's one particular character, Corlys Velaryon. In the books, he's white. He's very, very white, like most of the characters are. And in the TV show, they changed him to black. So his children are black, and that actually impacts the story. So in terms of that very narrow story, that's an interesting race swap, I think. It does make sense. So if there's a reason that he's doing these two swaps and for his other casting decisions, then I think that's justifiable. But, I mean, we'll see. So the casting is strange. The next thing I want to talk about is the dialogue. So the Hollywood Reporter, the Odyssey, everybody using American accents is definitely a choice. Yeah, so in the trailer, you hear Matt Damon say, "Let's go." So it sounds like they're outside a Starbucks. Yeah, so Tom Holland talks about dad or daddy. I'm not sure which one he says, but both of them sound really strange. So apparently Nolan is using a particular version of the Odyssey, which has been described to me as a feminist Odyssey. I've seen that description online. I don't know whether that how true that is, which is written in plain English. But I think with stories set in the past, if you use modern day language, then that particular work of art, that particular movie, TV show, whatever, becomes out of date very quickly. So some of the best TV shows, like Star Trek, for example, or Deadwood, they use very specific verbal styles in order to kind of remove them from the present day. And I kind of wonder, I kind of think maybe the Odyssey should employ a particular verbal style as well, so that this movie isn't just the 2020s Odyssey. It's a movie that can be viewed in 10 years, in 20 years, in 50 years, and doesn't look like a historical artifact because it's got its own personal dialogue. So yeah, the dialogue is really weird. And the third thing I'd like to talk about is the visuals. To explore the problems that I have with the visuals, what I'm going to do on the left hand side of the screen, there's going to be a screenshot from the official trailer. And on the right hand side, there's going to be a screenshot, an equivalent screenshot from a fan edit of the trailer called a historically accurate Odyssey trailer. So this is from a channel called Demon Flying Fox. So I encourage you to go and check out the full trailer there. On the left, the official trailer, Agamemnon, I guess this is. We can't see his face. It's basically the Batman trailer on the left, and on the right, I mean, this looks fantastic. So the ancient world, a very strange, unusual, and different place, and the perfect person to bring a representation of the ancient world and all the oddity that it had would be Christopher Nolan. I mean, Christopher Nolan is a man who made Oppenheimer, which made almost $1 billion, and it's about a scientist sitting around and talking. So I'd be really interested in seeing the film with the screenshot on the right. I think Agamemnon on the left looks really boring. I don't understand why Agamemnon on the left is so dull. Let's have a look here. So we can see on the left, we've got a very boring, generic, Roman-esque Matt Damon as Odysseus. On the right, we've got him in the, again, quote-unquote, historically accurate. I don't really want a historically accurate mythology as such. I want something that's interesting and striking. I think the one on the right is extremely striking. Here we've got a bit of a landscape shot, but again, the Mediterranean looks much more like the image on the right. I mean, I've spent several years living around the Mediterranean, and it's really bright, it's really blue, it's really like yellow and green. The one on the left looks much more Northern European. Even sort of the basic CGI, again on the left, I guess these are dead soldiers. The armor looks kind of similar to the living soldiers, but it just kind of drab and grey and black. And then on the right, this really funky and interesting looking armor. So yeah, that's kind of why I just feel so apathetic about the Odyssey. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it'll be fantastic. I really hope that it is. Thanks for watching.